It's Kevin Keatsman on Canceled on KCMO Talk Radio.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio 95.7 FM. I'm Kevin Keatsman. You know, we played in the listener event last week. Mundo and myself and some listeners at Shoal Creek. And I think most of them said they still listen on 710 AM, which is just fine. We don't mind that. But we say even if you're listening on 710, you might find it even more listenable on 95.7 FM. We've been there for, quite a while, a couple of years, I guess, anyway. It's been there for quite a while, but we still appreciate folks listening on 710. I think the signal reaches in places maybe they're different signals. But always great to have you in Topeka as well and throughout mid-Missouri. Welcome to Uncanceled on KCMO Talk Radio. We got a fine show lineup for you today. Steve's in for Mark, which is good. Mark went to the Iowa State Fair. We like that. We're going to give away tickets after 10:45 today to see Zach Brown at T-Mobile Center on September 10th. So be listening, and if you're the seventh caller, you can win those prizes. And in 30 minutes, we're going to get into a little bit of this economic D-Day because there's going to be a big announcement by Scott Bessent today, the Treasury Secretary, who's basically been put in charge. Scott Bessent is a billionaire who really knows how to make money, but Trump believes, and I think I believe this, he really knows how to keep people from making money. And that's what he's doing with Iran right now. He's kind of the point man on this thing. So the economic D-Day is working. We have some unbelievable stats. Their currency in Iran is just devastated right now. It's 2.02 million rial, R-A-I-L, rial, if that's how you say it. That's their currency, like the dollar. 2.02 million rial equal $1 US. So to go out to lunch, you would need something like 27 million rial to go to lunch today if you lived in Iran. If the restaurants are still open, they have 90% inflation. We'll get to that coming up in 30 minutes. Also, controversy in the WNBA because, of course, Enes Kanter Freedom declared for the WNBA draft a couple of weeks ago. He went courtside to a game last night, and they kicked him out. You can't make this up with this league. But we're going to start because I've always felt like what I love about this format and this station, and they told me when I started, was anything that people are talking about is fair game. What people are talking about, okay? So that's usually the best sports or news or weather-related topics. Doesn't matter, financial, whatever it is. And so this weekend, everywhere I went, all I heard from people, like overhearing people, did you see Harrison Butker's 69-yard field goal? And I wasn't butting into their conversations or whatever. We've talked about it a lot in my circle of friends that we were around this weekend. We were at an event for a friend of ours, Chris, who had his 65th birthday on Saturday night. And everybody there saw the thing and was talking about it. He had it on his back porch and stuff. It was during the game. And so everybody went crazy and they were talking about it. And I'm shaking my head like, it's preseason. I'm not impressed. I don't know that he's going to do this in the regular season. Last year, a Jaguars kicker hit a 70-yarder in the preseason. But everybody is talking about it. And so I thought, okay, I know they don't use the specific, here it's 10 minutes before the game, K-balls in the preseason. I know the preseason's different in a lot of ways. And it is practice, and it's fodder, and it's all those things. But then I did some more research into this, and what I had not recognized was they've changed the rules dramatically around kicking in the NFL. So there are going to be more and more long kicks. All right? Scoring was down in the NFL, and they said, how do we fix scoring? And you know they have these stupid dynamic kickoffs that everybody hates, but the field position is better. So you start your average drive in better field position than what it used to be, and that's all they were going for. It wasn't player safety. They just want to start in better field position. Well, now you're like starting in field position is if you can hit that field goal, you're 20 yards from a field goal when you start your drive. The average drive starts at the 31. I mean, you're 20 yards from a field goal every time you get the ball. Well, that isn't much. But they're doing this because they changed the rules last year. And Vic Fangio, who Chiefs fans know is the defensive coordinator in Philadelphia, opened up about this earlier this year and said to a room full of reporters, you guys know what you've all missed, right? This is a quote. You know what you've missed. Not just you, but everybody. We gave up a 65-yard field goal and a 58-yard field goal in one game, he told reporters. These kicking balls that changed last year have drastically changed the kicking game, field goals in particular. It's like they need an asterisk era. Like it was the live ball era or the asterisk for home runs with Barry Bonds and Sammy Sosa or Mark McGwire. That's the way they've changed the ball for kickers in the NFL. they've drastically changed field goals. So you will be the smartest person at your Chiefs watch party if you tell everyone this is absolutely true. The rules now, instead of handing the balls in a bag, the K-balls, to a team 30 minutes before kickoff, that the referees check the air and everything about them, they send them well in advance. And the team can doctor the ball. It is legal to brush the ball, scrape it with a brush, water it, use towels. Some people suggest they put sticky stuff on them that helps it fly better. I don't know what they're doing with the K-balls, but they're not the shiny new out-of-the-box balls. They didn't like the way those were flying. Apparently, they wobbled more. We saw more crooked kicks. They'd go up and kind of flutter like a knuckleball. Well, trust me, if kickers know anything, they know how to doctor a football based on the way they kick it. The same goes for punters and the way it rotates. So the NFL very quietly did this last year, and now you're seeing Harrison Butker hit a 69-yarder. I would suggest this, because the second I saw it, the first thing I thought of was helium. I'm like, well, the Chiefs went to Tampa, and they had some guy back in the training room put some helium in the ball and say, let's have some fun tonight and try to make a 70-yarder. And he's probably out there banging 70-yarders before the start of the game. And they go, well, he's got the range tonight because the ball. I don't think anybody in the NFL checks the balls in the preseason. Now, I'd like to think after the team gets these balls every game or every week, that the referees check them right before game time for air pressure at least. But how would you check and know if there's helium in them or anything else in them that would make them fly? I don't know what they could come up with. So the NFL is just going to open this thing up and let people go crazy and do whatever they want with the kicking balls? Steve, you on board with this? I mean, I don't think I like it. I liked it better when I knew the NFL had custom ball for everybody kicking, and this is it. We deliver them to you right before the start of the game. So in 2024, in the NFL, kickers were 4 out of 14 for the entire season. Every team for the entire season, 60 yards or more. Last year, they were 12 out of 22 from 60 plus, and it's going to be more this year. I'll bet that 22 attempted kicks of 60 yards or more becomes closer to 40 because they're figuring out how to doctor these balls and fly them farther, and that was evident in that game on Saturday. So you could become the smartest person at the watch party. I don't know. It kind of looks to me like soccer without a goalkeeper when they're doing this stuff. Like, I'd almost put a provision in and say you can't kick a field goal unless it's at the 50 or in. Like, there needs to be some sort of benchmark for a team to drive the ball more than 20 yards. Or what if you return a punt to the 42? You need 5 yards and you're in field goal territory? That's what you want? I don't think that's good for the game. I think there's teams that are going to play for field goals, especially teams with defenses. It will also slow the game down. It will speed the game up, but slow the action down. There will be more running of clock. Field goals would be more valuable if you've got the guy that does this, and I'll be watching this year to see if they coach toward that. That's nothing compared to the drama in the WNBA last night. This is crazy. Enes Kanter Freedom, you may know this guy. He played in the NBA, and he was not American, but he came here and he played in the NBA and loved it, became a citizen, changed his last name, legal last name, to Freedom because he lives in the United States. Like, you think you're conservative and love America? There's nobody loves America more than Enes Kanter Freedom. And he has applied for the WNBA draft next spring and said, I'll identify as a woman to play in your league now. I'm not in the NBA anymore, but I can crush it out there in this league. I'll be great. I can be the highest paid player on any team I want. So he goes, he's been catching flack from all these people in the WNBA about men, biological men, playing in the league. And look, we don't need to get into this, but there's 2 men playing in the league already. That's the problem the WNBA has, and nobody wants to say it. They have 2 biological men playing in this league, and they don't want anybody to know it, and they really don't want that to come up. So Enes Kanter Freedom gets courtside tickets on the baseline, and he wears a T-shirt with the Webster's definition of a woman. It says woman, noun. And underneath that, it says adult human female. And he wears this. And Sophie Cunningham, who he loves, hits a 3, and he stands up. He's the tallest guy in the building. He's like 7 feet tall or something. Stands up. He's got a million arm span. And the players on the Chicago team spot him. And one of them in particular gets really upset. Her name's Natasha Cloud. So she goes over there to him after he does this, 2 more possessions down the floor after he gets excited for Sophie making a 3. She comes down a couple possessions later and says, Enes Kanter Freedom said, what she hollered at me was, Sophie's not going to sleep with you. Sit down. And he hollered back, I don't want to sleep with her. I'm just a fan. I want her to make three-pointers. I love her. It's great. I'm here to protect and support women. And then she came down again, and they got in again. The game stopped, and then Kanter did something he shouldn't have done. He stepped up to the baseline, not out on the court, but he stepped up onto the wooden part from where his seat was, and he probably shouldn't have done that. And then they had to pull the woman back, and they ejected him from the game. Which, again, is anybody really watching the WNBA for the basketball? Or now, is it just the circus and the sideshow? And what are they going to do with this massive problem that they have? And they just kicked out an NBA player, a former NBA player, with a T-shirt on it that says, woman, noun, adult human female, and booted him right out of the building. I love it. I think it's a great national conversation. And since we have midterms in November, let's keep it up because it shows the ridiculousness of some of the social tenets of the Democrat Party. And those need to continually be exposed. I didn't even think this was a story. This is the most surprising story of the summer because when Sophie Cunningham said what she said, she'd said it before. This has been like 6 weeks ago now. She had shared these things publicly before. It's decided. America's 90% on this thing. Men shouldn't play in women's sports. It's like done. States everywhere have passed laws protecting girls in schools. They've got them in Kansas. I think they got them in Missouri. I think there's all kinds of protections here. So they've had to do this because the wackos on the left are trying to push it. And it's been great. It's been a fun summer story, and it's a midterm year. Keep it out there, front and center. Enes Kanter freedom kicked out of a WNBA game. 913-408-7957 is the number to call. If you would like to join the show, the phone lines are wide open right now. Give me a shout. This is Uncanceled at 913-408-7957 on a Monday on KCMO Radio. Welcome back to the show. Great to have you with us on this Monday. If you would like to join the conversation, anything on your mind is always on my mind. So feel free to call about whatever you think is urgent or important or you'd like to share with folks listening to the broadcast. 913-408-7957, the number to call. I saw a report this weekend. The Negro Leagues Baseball Museum here in Kansas City has had a huge surge in not just foot traffic, but apparently Google searches. If you watch the first episode this season of Ted Lasso, it was basically a postcard or an homage to the city of Kansas City. The entire episode was just all Kansas City, and it just made us look like the best place ever. It was really cool, and it was funny and all those things. And if you don't watch, it's on Apple TV. I recognize most people don't stream or watch, whatever, so I'll just fill you in what happens. There's a character who's from England, part of the soccer. He's like the general manager of the soccer team, but he's in Kansas City trying to get Ted Lasso, who lives here, to go back to England and coach a women's team. And he's got an extra day, and he wants to go to he plays music. He's like a jazz. He wants to go to the Jazz Museum, but it's closed. And so he goes across the street to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum, where he gets a private tour by the only person working there, and there's nobody else there. And they spend a great deal of time in there talking about the history of the league and all that. So this is a global show. It's on Apple. It's like every country in the world gets it. And so obviously millions and millions of people saw this episode. And the Google searches for the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum went up 5,000% in the 2 weeks after that episode. And Bob Kendrick, who runs the museum, said the foot traffic of just people in Kansas City who knew about the museum but had never been and thought, well, I know it's there, but I've never been, saw it on Ted Lasso and went, wow, that does look cool. I'm going to go. So in just 3 weeks' time since that first episode, they've seen a real difference in foot traffic at the museum and obviously the searches. One of the coolest things I saw this summer was a man who plays, well, he's the lead of the three-man band, well, was three-man band, now two men and a woman, the band Rush. Everybody loves Rush, right? The Canadian rock band. Geddy Lee is one of the biggest baseball fans on the planet. He came this summer to the Negro Leagues Baseball Museum. They didn't have a concert here. He came to the museum and donated, like he's collected so much baseball memorabilia throughout his life. And he was donating some to the Negro Leagues Museum to auction off and raise money. And he sat there, and if I'm not mistaken, it was at least 4, but I heard somebody say he was there for close to 6 hours just signing autographs for people for $25 each or whatever, and all of the money going straight to the museum. The people that love that museum, there is no connection. There's really no comparison. Like, there's nobody that can show up at the Nelson Atkins, from like pop culture and just sit there for 6 hours and sign autographs and stuff to the masses. people who love baseball and baseball history and Rush and rock and roll and things like that. It was amazing that he was able to go do that. That museum is a gem in our city. It is well funded. And we pointed out last week, although the lease has not been signed yet, it is basically in the new Royals lease with the city that they're responsible for funding that museum if it falls short. With the $600 million the Royals are getting from the city, they're guaranteeing or supposedly guaranteeing in the lease that museum will never go away. That we've got it. If it ever falls on hard times and there's no Ted Lasso out there or Geddy Lee coming and doing his thing, we're the Royals and we'll take care of it. So they say. Now we'll get a final lease at some point and everybody will be able to read it. To the phones we go, and we'll start in Kansas City, Kansas with Steve. Good morning, Steve. What's up?
Hey, good morning. Because of this show and listening to Mark Van Sickle talk about Ted Lasso, this weekend I signed up for Apple TV and I binge-watched the first season of Ted Lasso.
All right. What'd you think?
Not a bad show. I like the little cameos from Kansas there. He was an ex-Wichita Shocker coach, and he gave somebody a gift of Arthur Bryant's barbecue. It's close to home. I like it.
Yeah, the funniest line of episode 1 this year, the one that the whole episode was based in Kansas City and shot here, the owner of the team says, "How many cities are there in this city?" And everybody goes, 2. She got confused which state she was in and all that stuff. It's really kind of funny.
Yeah. It's a great show. Thanks, Kevin.
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate the call. All right, so Steve's all in, and he enjoyed watching a little Ted Lasso. It really is we watch so many things that are heavy, and we follow the news, which is heavy, and there's very few things anymore that you can just, it's sort of mindless, and you watch it, and you feel good, and Ted Lasso doesn't have bad days. And he's just that positive Midwest guy that is around a lot of grumpy people with a lot of issues, and he finds a way to make them feel better. And that's really what it's about. The underlying tone of the show isn't soccer. Obviously, there's comedy and some drama in it. The underlying tone of the show is be happy. Find a way, find whatever it is that makes you happy. And I guess we could all use a little bit more of that in our world. I know that I can, and I'm more than happy to, at any turn be able to do something like that and enjoy that. So there was a controversy last week with Monster Energy drink. I don't know if you've seen this. Monster Energy drink is like all the taurine and caffeine and whatever They signed a deal with Big 12 football. They're going to have a patch on the jerseys that says Monster Big 12 Conference. And a group of like a dozen doctors, cardiologists and whatnot, came out and gave a statement and put a release out, and USA Today ran with it, and a bunch of people started repeating it. And these doctors were saying the Big 12 needs to stop right now because kids are going to be watching football and kids shouldn't drink Monster Energy. And that is true. Your kids should not be drinking Monster Energy. But this was especially funny to me because I don't remember these doctors coming together during COVID and saying, you know what? Kids aren't getting really sick from COVID. We probably shouldn't put an experimental vaccine made for adults in 2-year-old bodies. I don't remember that. This is simply marketing. They're not complaining that beer is advertised during football or sports gambling. They're worried about Monster Energy drink. And the sad part of this is our whole lives, we have loved and respected our doctors. We have trusted them and believed in them. And we have never, ever been more skeptical. And I wrote a newsletter about this weekend for the patrons of my podcast and went into great detail with statistics and everything else that's too heavy here for radio. But basically, the sad thing is, I don't know what the number is. I'll just go ahead and guess. 80% of doctors, aren't addicted to making money. But the 20% that are out there that push every shot, every little thing, every kickback they can get from Big Pharma and make more money, they do it. And that has led to a lot of distrust. And Monster Energy drink is not our problem. It's stuff, anything you can get over the counter is not our real problem at this point. All right, we're back on KCMO Talk Radio. Really nice to have you with us I almost needed a jacket this morning. Ooh, I'm not ready for fall. I never wish away summer. I'm a summer boy. I love me some summer and some daylight savings. You know the drill. But it was kind of nice. I took the dog out very early this morning. I was like, ooh, a little chilly out here today. Might need to put a jacket there in the closet by the door. I take all the jackets out of the closet by the front door in the summer because I don't want to, if I open that door and reach for a leash or an umbrella, I don't want to see the jackets. I don't want to think about winter. I hate it. So I take them downstairs. I just out of the way, out of sight, out of mind. I don't need jackets this time of year. But I may have to put something there. It was a little chilly this morning. I did hear on the KCTV5 weather, driving in, that this will be the chilliest day the next week or so. So there you go. It's not chilly now. It'll be warm this afternoon. It is gorgeous outdoor weather right now, and yesterday was just absolutely terrific. If you'd like to join us, the phone number is 913-408-7957 on Uncanceled, and we go to John in Lewisburg. Hi, John. Good morning. How are you, sir?
Good. Kevin, you've got to make a trip to the Field of Dreams.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, my. We drove in. I started tearing up.
Yeah.
And my wife was like, "Are you crying?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And it was amazing to drive down that gravel road, to see the farmhouse, to see the field, the cornfield. This was late September, and the corn was still green. And she took a picture of me from home plate, and I was out in the cornfield waving goodbye. And my goodness, it still gives me goosebumps.
It's Dyersville, Iowa. What is that, 5 hours?
Yeah, it's about 5 hours. So it's basically about straight west of Dubuque.
Okay. And do you go through Des Moines?
My.
Do you go through Des Moines to get there, or do you go across northern Missouri?
Well, we went through Des Moines. We were taking a trip on the Blue Highways for an anniversary up to Mississippi.
Okay.
And I said, we got to go to the Field of Dreams.
Yeah, now it's changed. They built a new stadium there. So there's a couple of them. I think, as I understand it, you tell me, the original Field of Dreams is still there by the house and everything, but a different parcel of land, they've built this new stadium, and it has corn, too, and that's where they're playing the Royals games and stuff, right?
And you take a pathway back behind the original one. So,
okay.
And that's where you find it. But my goodness. She was like, "You're crying." I was like,
They
yeah.
Yeah, this we're going back to, if you just joining us last hour when I joined Pete for the last segment of his show, we were talking about Field of Dreams and how the movie, for the men, a lot of men who watch that, fathers and or sons, they cry when they watch it. I do. And women our wives just don't understand. They don't get it at all.
They never played catch with their dad. They never had their dad coach baseball with them. None of that.
Yeah.
And she was like, "Wow." I said, "Yeah."
It's powerful. Yeah, no doubt about it.
It is.
I'm looking forward to going. I'll move mountain and earth to try to. You know what? Maybe we'll work with the Royals. We'll just go up there and do the show. They would take the show on the road to Iowa for the Royals Red Sox. It's Royals Red Sox next year, right?
Yes.
Yeah, in August.
That would be incredible.
Yeah. If they'll let us, they got radio
that.
rights holders they protect and things like that, but we'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
We'll try to go up there and do the show. If not, then maybe we'll find a restaurant in Dyersville to do the show from and then just go over there and see the game.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well worth it. Well worth it.
Thank you, John.
Yeah, have a good one.
Take care, buddy. Appreciate you very much. All right, so we've got a big day in D.C. today, and more we're seeing Scott Bessent out front in the Trump administration, especially on Iran policy. We know what Marco Rubio wants to do. He wants to blow everything up. We know what J.D. Vance wants to do. He wants to get out. And so Trump, instead of going back and forth between those two guys, has said, you know what, let's give Bessent a shot here. And it's working. There's no question about it. This is probably underreported, but there's a man that is part of the Iranian parliament. He is the speaker. His name is Mohammad Bagher Kalibaf. He's one of the country's most senior political figures. And he was at an economic summit in Iraq, not Iran, Iraq, this weekend. And I guess they either did media or something, because a report came out from a Middle Eastern media outlet, Al-Bawaba, summarized it and said that Kalibaf's warning was the headline in their newspaper on Sunday. Quote, "We are hungry. We cannot survive." That is a senior Iranian leader not on Iranian soil in Iraq. I'm not an expert on the Middle East, but I'm not sure that fellow wants to go home. If you said that, would you go back to Tehran? And when you do, what happens to you? Because he said it publicly in Iraq. He said, quote, "No matter how strong our military power becomes, if we are hungry, we will not be able to endure." Well, yeah, we know that. Trump knows that. Bessent knows that. Most of the media in this country will not report that. They will not admit that. Most of the American public does not know this. They just don't. And Iran is basically telling their people that they're winning. And their people probably believe them, just like a lot of people believe that we're losing, which is insane. The traffic in the Strait of Hormuz increased 400% over the last 10 days. So it's open and oil is flowing. There is no oil flowing in or out of Iran. None. We've completely blocked them. There's nothing going to any Iranian ports. They cannot export a nickel of oil right now. The Iranian oil's been cut off. And this man who said this, that we can't sustain this, is a former commander of the Revolutionary Guard. So he knows the military, he knows the leadership, he knows everyone inside and out, and he's just stating the obvious. And if it's that obvious, I mean, we've known these people are radicals. We know it's radical Islam. We know how hardened they are at what it is they do. What's their end game? They have to know they can't win unless Trump just leaves. And at this point, we're getting so close to the midterms now, it's pretty obvious Trump isn't leaving. You can blame the midterms on this. And in the end, topple that regime through economics. This is an economic D-Day. That's exactly what they're calling it. And it will work. Eventually, Iran's completely out of money, has no friends, nobody's helping them, and their people will turn on them. And I'm not talking about people don't have guns in Iran, but guess who does have guns? The police have them. The guards have them. The Revolutionary Guard has them. There's a lot of people who have guns that work for the regime. And at some point, they're going to get hungry. Their extended families are going to be hungry and upset. And they're going to say, you know what? I ain't doing this anymore. And they'll turn. And that's how this thing works. Because it really is a brutal dictatorship, for lack of a better term, regime, where the government has guns, the people don't, and you do what they say, and that's your life. Deal with it. And Trump's trying to change that. But I just thought this should be reported everywhere. I don't care, CNN, New York Times, however far left you are in the media, you should be reporting this guy is the Speaker of Parliament. He's a former Revolutionary Guard commander, and he says, quote, "We are hungry. We cannot survive." That needs to be blasted everywhere in the world, especially inside Iran, because it sounds like those folks are struggling. And the worst part of this isn't the military installations we blew up or the soldiers that were lost or those. The worst part of this is these people are suffering even worse than they were suffering under the regime right now. And I don't know how you fix that in something like this. The end game is probably worth it. If they don't sponsor terrorism, if we get something better in Iran, because so many of those countries over there have started conforming with the rest of the world, doing the right things. The United Arab Emirates a couple weeks ago pulled out, said we're not with Iran anymore. We know a lot of things that Qatar's done. A lot of these other countries have just, it's boomtown. They've westernized and they've built and built and built, and they're thriving off their oil. And Iran won't make the change. And in the end, it's going to be better for the people of Iran, in all likelihood. But right now, it must just be brutal. And if this man's coming out saying, we're hungry, we can't sustain this, that's just got to be a really, 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 really difficult thing. All right, back to the phones we go. Here is Kent joining us on KCMO. Good morning, Kent. How are you?
Hey, Keith, how you doing, buddy?
Good, buddy.
Hey, I'm going to back up a minute with you as far as the WNBA. In italics, the league that everybody owes everything to as far as Caitlin Clark is concerned.
Yeah.
Referees' salaries, players' salaries, et cetera, TV coverage, the whole bit. Anyway, that said, it's become a bit of a liberal circus, if you will. But I would like to get your opinion on where you think this WNBA draft thing is going to go with freedom. I mean, can they keep him out? What's your opinion on all this?
I think they are going to keep him out. They are trying to figure out how to define a woman. They put together a select committee. The board of directors did. But it says very plainly in the WNBA draft that it is only open to women. It says it. That's the draft rules. The draft is only open to eligible women. So if they're defining a woman, because I'm of the belief that there are at least two men playing in this league, biological males.
Yeah, agreed.
At least two. And so they're really struggling with this because if that becomes a legal compromise. If that's the rule for your draft, but you have biological men in your league, you've got a real problem. That means men have been drafted. So they got to allow it. I don't know what they're going to do. I don't think they're going to let him be drafted. Well, they might, and then they might have collusion where every team in the league says we're not drafting him. That could happen too. These teams are all owned by liberals. The entire league's been liberal. The NBA basically is...
And the coaches.
They basically subsidize the whole thing. It's always lost money, and it's still losing money. And the NBA owners are paying for it, and they don't seem to care. And in the end, I'd almost bet you within 2 years, Sophie Cunningham is making more money than Caitlin Clark.
Possibly.
I think she's going to make millions and millions in endorsements, even more than Caitlin Clark.
That are running for office.
Well, then she's just stealing from us, right? We don't want that.
You got it, buddy. Take care.
Okay, man. Thank you for the call. Appreciate that. Now, the league was built for one reason. They had guilt in the NBA that we've created all this opportunity for men and all these players who, by and large, came from somewhere or some upbringing that was challenging. I think the NBA would have told you 30 years ago, most of our players grew up marginalized by America, whether it's their race or a different country they came from or whatever it was, that these are marginalized people, and look at these salaries they're making. Look how great this all is, and the places they come from and what their family histories are, and now look at them. Isn't this great? And they said, we better do this for women. Because we just feel that if we want real equality, we got to do it for women. So they started it up, and they knew it was a money loser, and they said, fine, we'll lose money every year because we're making so much in the NBA. We'll go ahead and lose money. I mean, this stuff was starting like after Jordan was the NBA was way bigger 30 years ago, in my opinion, than it is now, at least in the mainstream. Not monetarily, okay, but in the minds of sports fans in America, Michael Jordan's era was just ridiculous. So not the same, and Nike has found out their stock is down 78%. It's the lowest it's been since 2014. They kept Michael Jordan on board with his Air Jordan brand, but they thought they could replace him with LeBron James, and they couldn't. Michael Jordan famously said many, 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 many years ago, Republicans buy sneakers too. I'm out on these issues. I've got no opinion. Just buy the shoes. I'm Michael Jordan. Watch me play basketball. It's what I do. Well, that ain't LeBron. LeBron had his back turned, was kneeling, and all this stuff's going on. So the WNBA follows the cue, and they turn into basically an infestation, a nest, a culture of woke. That's what they were. They played in front of 1,100 people every night. It lost money. The women playing made $120,000 a year or something, and they're like, this is great. I'm making $120,000 a year. I don't have to work very hard. There's not that many games. I'm traveling around, seeing the country. Beautiful. We got our opportunity. And then Caitlin Clark came along a couple of years ago, and people started buying tickets. Oh, this league is racist. They're buying tickets because she's white. Oh, we're a racist country. Well, that's nothing compared to what Sophie's done. Tall, blonde, white lady on social media, a gazillion followers, not because she's a supermodel or the hottest thing in the world, but she's attractive enough, and she's just got this kick-butt personality. Like, she gets on there and she's eating Arby's. She goes, yeah, man, chicks dig Arby's too. And she's like driving through sampling some new platter thing they had or something. And then she's dancing and showing her dance moves. She's got all that. She could just be social media all on her own without the basketball. And now she's like, kick men out. And all hell is broken loose in the WNBA because they're too woke for it and they can't stand it. But they need to figure it out. I don't know what they'll do. My guess is the NBA will figure it out for them. Somebody in the NBA or a group of owners in the NBA will say, we got to change a lot of stuff with the women's league because they can't get through they got these primetime games now. They can't get through a nationally televised game without a controversy. And last night it was Enes Kanter Freedom getting kicked out. He wore a shirt that triggered a player, and the player confronted him about his shirt, and he gets kicked out. And so here we are again with the WNBA. 913-408-7957. If you'd like to join the show, we'll wrap it up with Steve next on KCMO. All right, your humble host screwed up just a little bit. I didn't yet give away or offer to give away the tickets to Zach Brown Band. We'll do that in a couple of moments. So you got to wait on it, folks. Don't call yet. We got the phones blocked because Steve's going to join us here for a minute or two as we chat, and then we'll give the tickets away to Zach Brown September 10th, T-Mobile Arena, downtown Kansas City, which is completely different than what downtown was 20 years ago, and it's getting even better as we're going to redo Crown Center. It's going to be awesome. Steve, you're a St. Louis guy. right?
Yeah.
But a Bears fan. So how
Yes.
did you go when the
Yes.
Cardinals left St. Louis? How did you go Bears instead of Chiefs?
Well, our local TV station did a poll, and they said, okay, with the Cardinals being the late game most of the time from
Yeah.
Arizona, who do you want in that noon slot? It was just a poll, and the Bears won.
Oh,
So that's who we get at noon.
okay.
And it didn't hurt that they were good. They were a lot better than the Cardinals.
Yeah.
You know, Walter Payton,
Oh, sure.
those
yeah.
guys. So
Yeah.
I was like, okay, yeah, I like them.
Yeah.
So I stuck with them. And then my dad, for some reason, he went to Chicago on a business trip and came back with a Chicago Bears jacket, which is kind of weird because we never talked about the Bears. We never didn't do
Just
anything.
happened.
He just found and and I was like, man, this is a cool jacket. I still own it.
Yeah.
It comes up to about my elbows, but I love the jacket.
That's cool.
So it's just been ever since then.
Do you think they're going to build a stadium in Indiana?
Yes.
I do too.
Yeah.
I don't see why the owners would stop that. I heard a report last week by Mike Florio that the owners are going to vote the Bears down and say they can't move in. Why would they say you can't move 16 miles from where your stadium is?
Yeah, I don't know, but that seems to be their priority. They say they're full steam ahead on that.
Yeah.
And they just tell Pritzker, hey, call us, if you've got an offer.
Well, in St. Louis this weekend, they held the second round of the 3-week FedEx playoffs on the PGA Tour at Belle Reef Country Club, and they had huge attendance in St. Louis for this thing. Wyndham Clark won the event over Rory McIlroy and a couple of others. Gary Woodland from Topeka and KU finished fourth and is in the top 30 for this week. This is the final event of the year in Atlanta. 30 players in the field playing for $40 million. The winner wins $10 million. Largest purse in golf.
Right.
And Woodland made it after brain surgery and PTSD, and he's in the final 30.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
Brain surgery.
Yes, he had a lesion on his brain. He was out for 2.5 years.
Wow.
And he's back. He finished fourth yesterday.
So I wonder in that how much after that surgery, how much your skills erode just from that? You know what I mean? And getting that back.
He's had trouble on the course because the PTSD, the brain thing made him think that bad things are happening in his life. And he would get out on the golf course and think somebody was trying to get him.
Oh.
It was like looking over his shoulder, and he had security around him. So he's had to deal with the mental health problem of that. Yeah, it's a wild story.
That's a great.
He's playing great. He did have a weird moment yesterday. He topped a ball. If you don't play golf, it's basically a whiff. He topped it and only went like 80 yards.
Oh.
And still finished fourth. He was one off the lead when he did that.
So he had a heck of a follow-up shot.
It's exactly what Kevin would do here. If I ever got within a shot of the lead, I'd choke like a dog. Trump be like, oh, he choked like a dog. Kevin chokes like a dog, which would probably be true. Have you practiced a 69-yard field goal yet, Steve?
No. No. And thankfully my hamstrings. They thank me too. No.
What would you put in a football to make it go farther? Helium's the obvious thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's got to be. I don't know what else. You can't file it or anything, right? You can't shave. I don't know.
They allow them to brush it, wet it. They have a towel. They allow them to do anything with these balls now.
I don't know. Can you do something to the point of it? Would that help it?
I see them all the time squishing them, trying to make them more round or something.
Helium's a good guess, but like you said earlier, how would you test for that?
Right. Even if they tested the air in it, how would they know if there's helium in the air? I just do it. They're giving me the balls early. I'm putting helium in them every single time until we get caught. All right, it's time to wrap it up here on Uncanceled, and this is your chance to win right now. If you would like to go see Zach Brown September 10th at T-Mobile Arena, you be the seventh caller right now at 913-408-7957. Give me a shout right now on KCMO Talk Radio, and you could be on your way. Zach Brown's terrific. He just gave away a bunch of cruises. He played Wrigley Field in Chicago.
Yeah, you know how many that was? How many cruises?
Yeah, it was a bunch.
37,000.
Jeez. Well, there you go. That's going to do it for Uncanceled, folks. Thanks for listening to KCMO Talk Radio.